what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, Previews and Vlogs. My name is Paul, and it's snowing again. It snows every other day in this place this year. Yes, we're in the middle of winter, I understand, and it's just, geez, I can't even get my caddy out to go drive it. Like I said in the video when I put the car away, I said, you know, once in a while when it's sunny outside, even though it'll be in the 30s or whatever, I'm gonna go drive my caddy. No, I don't even pull it out. I think I pulled the car out of the garage maybe once when I was doing the brakes on the Pathfinder out there. But that's about it. That's the last time I pulled the car out. I've been shoveling snow at least once, maybe twice a week, and I'm about to shovel again. And tomorrow is supposed to be like negative 35 with the wind chill. So yeah, that's what I've been dealing with. Kind of hard to work on cars or do anything. I have a video that I want to do on the Pathfinder, but it's hard to do so because, of course, since I'm in the garage, it's freezing cold. It's freezing in the garage. I need the room for the Pathfinder. I can't put the Pathfinder in here and still work on it with the Cadillac the CTS sitting in here. So basically it becomes a pain when you're dealing with this. Also a dirty floor. I mean, look at the wife's car. I haven't been able to wash this thing. This thing is disgusting. Look at this. In almost 2 weeks, because it doesn't matter if I wash it the next day, there's snow and they're dropping salt everywhere. And that's another reason also that the 4Runner hasn't left here, because of all the salt I've been throwing in, because of the subframe issues with those cars and salt. So I've been driving the Pathfinder pretty much almost everywhere, it's fine. But anyways, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not complaining way too much about the snow. I know where I live, so. Alright, so what actually we're going to be doing today is the follow-up to the K&N filter cleaning video, which is installing the K&N filter or K&N intake into the ATS-V, which is my buddy Jamie's car, which he should be here probably within an hour and a half or so. So I got to move the wife's car outside and probably put it in front of the Pathfinder out there. And then we're going to be working on it right in this side. I got to turn on my heater in here because it's going to be freezing cold in here, of course. And we're going to be working alongside next to the Cadillac, which should be enough room. I don't have to take any tires off the car or anything like that, or just basically we're going to be under the hood. And it should be a quick install. So let me go ahead and get this Pathfinder moved out. One thing I hate doing is driving over snow that's already on the ground, because it makes the tire tracks, and then it's harder for me to actually clean it once I'm trying to clean it. But it is what it is. Let's get this Pathfinder moved out of here and the garage heated. Also, this is another reason why I can't work on cars if I have to get on the ground. Look how nasty it is when it comes to salt. For those who don't live in the Midwest, or, you know, states where it snows pretty much, you don't know much about this. Look at this, how the garage floor gets. Hopefully this coming summer, I'm gonna be able to actually coat the floor, which this will become a lot easier to clean, because with cement, what it does, it just soaks it in, and it's so much harder to clean, even squeegee the water out of here. So this is what we get pretty much every year. I'm hoping to actually do some revamping this summer on this garage. But anyways, let's close this door for now, get some heat in here. And this is what I love about this. My little switch right here for my heater up there. Flip that. We're at supposedly 42 degrees at 6:40 in the morning. Let's see what happens within that. It should be here at around 8 o'clock. So let's see how warm this thing helps out again. I will put actually a link in the description down below for this heater. This is awesome. This is one of the lifesavers. If there's an emergency, something I've ever had to do with a car where I had to get in the garage and do something in the past winters, this thing has saved my life. This thing is amazing. Pretty much within an hour or an hour and a half. It's small and it's a bigger garage, so basically within an hour and a half, this thing gets nice and warm in here. So start that up. I'll see you guys in just a little bit. Alright, so as you guys saw, Jamie pulled in here. We got everything set up here. These are pretty much the only things that it comes with for this K&N. It's just the tube that comes off the box. That goes right there. This other one, that goes right there. And then of course, where did I put it? We have where the intakes go, which go right in here. And then of course the intake that you guys saw me clean on the previous video. That is all there is to this. I don't think I have to remove the coolant bottle like I did on the other one, on the V-Sport, or get inside by the turbos to remove any of the other hoses or anything from there. So this should be pretty simple. You're gonna need a T15 Torx to remove the mass airflows out of there, an 8mm with an extension, and you can use, of course, a ratchet or just I'm gonna use my power ratchet right here. But this should be pretty simple. Shouldn't be very hard and should get them out of here pretty quick. Factory setup is actually pretty simple. There are three main parts to the whole intake system for the factory. You have your intake tube that goes to your passenger turbo, and then you have the intake tube that goes to the driver's side turbo. Then you have your air box or your air filter system here. That is your entire system. To remove this, we're gonna remove the mass airflow sensors and get them out the way. Then we're gonna remove three of the top clamps as you see here, loosen those up. And then we have the lower clamp that's by the oil dipstick. Remove the oil dipstick for better access. Then we're gonna have two clips that hold down the mass airflow wiring harness. You don't need these clips anymore because you won't be installing them in the new intake you're putting in. And if you want to remove all 6 of the screws for the airbox housing or the airbox top, you can. You really don't need to. You can actually, once you loosen everything else up, just pull the whole airbox out without loosening these screws. Okay, so we're gonna start by removing both mass airflow sensors. Now both sensors are held down by 2 T15 Torx screws. On the one for the driver's side, you don't have to unplug. The passenger side, you will have to unplug before you remove it because it's not easily removable. Once you take it out, you're able to sit it on a bench somewhere. Just make sure you don't drop it or anything like that, causing damage to the sensor. So to remove the air filter housing is very simple. Unscrew and loosen up both the clamps that are closest to the air filter housing from the intake tubes. Loosen up the actual clips that are holding down the mass airflow wiring harness, and you could pull the air filter box straight up. What I did in this scenario, I kind of went like extra step that I didn't really need to do and removed all 6 screws from the top of the air filter housing. You don't need to do that. I did it. It took me an extra seconds because I was using a power tool anyways, but you really don't need to do that. Once you unhook the 2 clamps that are closest to the air filter housing and the clips for the mass airflow sensors, you can just pull the air filter housing straight up. All right, so the stock intake is out. It's all sitting out here. Now, if you pull that, when you pull the box out, you're gonna have these big holes. They have rubber grommets that actually go on here that usually get stuck to the bottom of the intake box, to these little nipples right here. So make sure you get those out. You gotta just slide those right back in there. Just like that. Same thing with that one, just like that. And then there's one right here, so there's 3. Just actually for the same fittings for the box. The box only actually has 2. Actually, no, it does have 3. It comes separate with it, so we gotta attach this to that box. Next, we're gonna loosen this clamp out here to remove this intake resonator out of the way. There is a vacuum line underneath this, so be careful. You're gonna push down on the gray tab and pull the line straight out. Again, I didn't get a good picture of this, so I apologize. And then next thing we're gonna do is remove the last intake tube that is on the driver's side. We're gonna get down. We're gonna push down on the rubber intake tube. If you want to get more room, go ahead and remove the oil dipstick to get to this last 8mm screw and pull the tube straight out. All right, so now we got everything up, and now it's just a matter of putting everything back together and tightening it down and connecting the mass airflow sensors, and he should be all good. So let's go ahead and get this all buttoned up and ready to go. So now we're gonna start by putting in the driver's side intake tube first. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Make sure when you're doing this tube that everything is flush and everything is nice and tight so it doesn't come off on you while with the engine vibrations or while you're driving the car. So now we got that tube in there. Just make sure that all the clamps are tight. You don't want to have any vacuum leaks in this thing, because then that will set off a check engine light and of course drivability issues with these cars. Next one we're going to put, of course, the one that goes from the second turbo on the passenger side over to the box. With this one, you have these nipples right here that come attached to it. These go right into those rivets right here. Of course, I'm missing one, which is probably stuck in the box, which I'll get that out right now. All right, and again, so that goes, that long tube, those nipples go in here, tighten this down, and then the intakes, and that's it. So let's go ahead and keep going with this and finish this thing off. So when installing the intake tube that goes to the right side turbo or the passenger side turbo, make sure you actually disconnect the mass airflow sensor and actually install it prior to installing the actual tube. Because once you have the tube in there and everything is set and you're trying to install the tube, and I ran into this myself, you're gonna have a hard time fitting the screwdriver in there to try to get the screws in there. So that's a quick tip just to make sure when you're doing this install, put the mass airflow sensor in the tube before installing it into the car. After you do that, want to make sure that, of course, that you put in the box in there. Make sure all the nipples fit in their little grommets in there, and then when you're putting the air intake, make sure that everything is nice and flush against the actual box, and all your lines and all your tubing is connected properly. Then go ahead and tighten all the clamps down and recheck your work. I kind of rechecked my work 2 or 3 times just to make sure everything was good. If the air filter is actually a little bit off, you're gonna get a check engine light. So just make sure everything's nice and tight when you're installing everything back on the car. Alright, so it's all done. It was that simple. Make sure all your clamps, make sure all your connectors are back on for the mass airflow mainly. Make sure everything is tight. Nothing's moving, nothing's wiggling around. Make sure these go back in properly in there. But that's it. That's the end of this install. Pretty much, it was very simple. Didn't have to remove the inlet pipes for the turbos on this car. On mine, I remember I had to remove the actual coolant reservoir just to get inside of there. But this was pretty simple. One quick tip I will say that kind of I should have done, but I didn't. Disconnect all the mass airflow sensors, so when you put them back, it's easier. You install them prior to putting everything back together. It's a lot easier that way to put them back on. But that's about it. That's your K&N intake for the ATS-V. Now Jamie's gonna start this thing up, and let's see how the startup sounds, and then we're gonna go outside and hear how this thing sucks in air, and if we hear a big difference from the other clip. And then I'll leave you guys with the clip, of course, the sound clips from before and after. So let's start this thing up, Jamie. Open the garage door so we don't die in here. It sounds like it's sucking in more. You can hear it. Of course, if we got this thing on a road with no snow, yeah, and hit the gas on this thing.
Next time it's nice out, I'll come over and we'll take another video.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hopefully sometime soon, because I'm tired of the snow, man. Yeah. All right, brother. You got all your stuff from in there?
Yeah, I think I got everything.
Cool. Oh, he got the calipers done too. Look at that.
Oh, look at the.
Oh yeah, he got a sound system on this thing. I forgot about that. He's got a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, but
oh, look at that box in there. Nice.
Yeah.
Leather wrap too.
Yeah. Vinyl wraps.
Nice.
Yeah, man. One nice day, I'll bring it over.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere.
When I hear this thing on the road, it does sound different, of course, just from him just revving it up from what it did before we did it. You could hear the intake definitely sucking in more air. But again, with all these no-cover roads, if we try to gas this thing to full power, we're gonna be off the road. So All right, brother.
I'm a man. Hey, thank you, bro.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Need anything, let me know, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Cool.
I'll take you up on the other stuff we talked about.
For sure, yeah. Let me know.
All right, bud. All right, so he's gone. Very simple install on that. Basically, just take out all the old OEM intake tubes, disconnect the mass airflow sensors, and pull out the old box and put everything right back together. When you're putting the intakes back on with the intake from K&N, the actual intake filter, just make sure you everything sits properly. It is kind of a little bit, you gotta keep everything loose until everything kind of settles in, and then you can tighten everything up. But that would be my tip of everything when I was doing this. Make sure that everything just kind of stays loose. Don't tighten anything down until everything's settled in, and then start tightening all your bolts and make sure everything's tightened, make sure everything's connected. You don't want to have any check engine lights on this thing. And if anybody was wondering about how warm it got on here with the heater, the door is open now. Of course, some of the heat came out, but it's down to 60. Well, disappeared. But it was down to 60 degrees. There you go, 60 degrees. And it was all the way, it was pretty much up to almost 70 degrees in here. I was starting to sweat. That's how bad it was. I ended up taking my jacket off, right down there at the top of the garbage can over there. But, so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please hit that subscribe button. Also hit the thumbs up, it helps me out a lot. And don't forget to share it. Also follow me on Instagram at Previews and Vlogs. Hit me up there, and then hopefully this snow that is just annoying at this point stops, and we start getting into, of course, the summer months or the spring months. But again, we're still in the middle of February, so it's gonna be a while. And then I'll start doing stuff to that one. And there's some good stuff, some good content coming on the CTS V Sport that you guys are gonna be hopefully checking out. I'm gonna be doing to this car. But in the meantime, there will be some videos on the 4Runner and on the Pathfinder. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Take care, stay safe.